My husband's mother claimed I was a witch and demanded she be allowed wear white and walk down the aisle at my wedding. My fiancé is on her side, so I'm going nuclear. Have you ever seen I Love a Mama's Boy? Well, that's my life. Me and my fiancé John have been together since high school. Well, we would have been, if not his mother Debbie didn't convince him to break up with me because we were too young to love. Luckily, we got back together during sophomore year. And in response, not only did Debbie have a psychotic breakdown where she found my phone number and left me nasty voicemails, but she also tried to convince John I had done evil witchcraft on him. Most people in my situation would not have taken this, but I've been raised to not talk back to my elders. And because Debbie knows that, she abuses it. For the last few years that me and John have been together, she has tried to hook him up with her friends' daughters, her older coworkers, and even her book club friends. And when John refuses to go on dates with them, Debbie calls me controlling, because I won't let him have a little fun. You're probably wondering, does John ever say anything back to her? Well, John has told her to stop, but more in a half-hearted, barely bothered and timid way. Not exactly a put his foot down and set clear boundaries kind of way. I've asked him so many times, but he always just says I should know how his mom is, and that she wouldn't like that. Anyway, 3 months ago, John proposed, but Debbie didn't come to the engagement party, and to avoid both sides meeting, she refused to attend the family dinner. I honestly didn't care, but I appreciated it when John's dad came and apologized for his ex's, Debbie, behavior. Either way, the problems really began when John decided to actually confront his mother about how she was behaving toward our whole engagement. I remember he made a big deal out of how this was the day her behavior changed, but of course, when he did go confront her, instead of taking any accountability, she gave him a sob story. Apparently, our engagement is super triggering to her because she got pregnant with him before marriage and never got to have a wedding. She cheated on John's dad while they were engaged. And get this, the only way she'd feel comfortable during our wedding is if she wore white, and I wore a soft pink or lavender. When my fiancé recalled this to me, I expected him to laugh at how damn ridiculous the whole thing was, but instead, we spent the next 10 minutes somehow arguing about whether or not I should let his mom walk me down the aisle so she could get a moment in her white dress at my wedding. He used the words petty and selfish. I just cried. Now we're in a weird space. I love John, but I see how much he lets her impact our lives. I just imagine her sitting at home rubbing her hands together like a fly, knowing she's ruining my relationship with John. Am I overreacting? Or is it really just a color? Update 1. When I didn't feel like crying anymore, I thought about it and met up with John. Thankfully, he was actually sorry. John came home remorseful. He told me he had talked to his friend and admitted to initially thinking he was 100% correct, but then his friend told him that it was a problem, and to get his head out of his own behind and actually look at what his mom is doing. This broke my heart, because when I, his fiancé and future mother of his kids, say it's a problem, I'm being dramatic and irrational. But when another male friend says it makes sense. I was too tired to sugarcoat it. I told him he's easily manipulated. He immediately went super quiet, so I knew he got the point. I asked why he did not see that his mother wearing white and walking down the aisle on our wedding day was extremely creepy. He claimed to just not want his mom to miss the wedding. I told him there would be no wedding if he didn't straighten up. He kissed me on the forehead and told me he understood. But after everything that happened, I needed more reassurance. I asked him what role she would play in our wedding, childbirth, Mother's Day, and everything to come. Would I always come second place? He consoled me by saying he realized how bad he fucked up. He was just trying to keep the peace. I asked him how his mom even convinced him that her walking the aisle in white was a good idea in the first place. And guess what? She used every evil mother-in-law manipulation trick in the book. She cried about how her baby was getting taken away from her. She sobbed about how she never got her wedding, and screamed about how she just wanted to experience a real wedding before she died. I was baffled. I told him if he really cared about having me in his life, he had to prove it. Go low contact with mother-in-law, and take no more input from her about the wedding, which will be postponed for a year. And on top of that, he has to go to counseling, both individually and as a couple. We discussed it a lot about how she won't be there for anything unless I'm comfortable with it, and I won't interact with her unless she does a 180. I told him he has to speak to his mom with me present about her behavior. When we agreed, I smiled for the first time in a while, and I actually felt hopeful about our marriage. But then he said something, and it came my turn to apologize, because he ended up finding the original Reddit post I made about him and his mother. I felt so bad, especially as he recalled how he read everyone rip him to shreds in the comments. I could see how uncomfortable he was as he read how much of a mama boy he was, and other things about his mom. He read for a few minutes until he saw someone call him a spineless "see you next Tuesday," and then returned my phone. He said it was harsh, but I had to show him how crazy the situation sounded, even if it was just to keep the peace on a surface level. Him reading the post was the icing on the cake. He said he saw everyone telling me to leave, and his heart physically started hurting, knowing that he deserved it. We called his dad, John's dad Dan, who I'll name since he's a big part of this update. Dan also reread John the Riot Act. He was relieved John decided to get his act together. We agreed to go to Deb's house tomorrow with Dan and John's aunt. My dad is tagging along. John has said he will tell his mother that she can't, under any circumstance, make our wedding about her. He also said if she does cry or try to guilt trip him, he will tell her he's going NC. I feel terrible as getting a man to stop talking to his mother isn't something I ever thought I even wanted. I doubt Debbie will come around, especially not tomorrow, with all of us against her. I don't know if John will backtrack as soon as he gets there. I have explained if he doesn't grow a spine, I'm leaving. He can either marry me or marry his mom, but that's my ultimatum. He said he chose me. We'll see, I guess. This all should make me happy. happy, but I still feel icky. Update 2. We got to Debbie's. My heart feels like I'm going up the world's tallest roller coaster slowly. John is quiet. We get there and he gives her a firm but respectful, "Hey mom." We sit down and John tells her we came to talk to her. She asked, "What's wrong?" John got right into it. He bluntly told her that her actions toward me for years had been petty. Not showing up for our wedding events was unacceptable to him. He flat out asked her why she has a problem with me. I genuinely thought he was going to start with the dress situation. He went for the root of it all. Debbie acted like she had no idea what he was talking about. She had actively tried to get him to cheat on me or leave me for other women. But at that moment, she was shocked and didn't know where this was coming from. She said she has no problems with me and loves me like a daughter. She looked at me like she expected me to talk. But like I said to you all, I wanted to see what John had to say. He asked her to be honest and named all the times he's recalled that she insulted me to my face and behind my back. He mentioned she has also told him he could do better every time I'm not around. Deb was livid. She genuinely couldn't believe he outed her like that. She starts going off on him, calling him disrespectful and saying he was disrespecting his own mother for an outsider. She kept saying, "I know she made you do this. I know she's the one making you disrespect me like this." John was trying to reason with her and get her to calm down. I texted Dan and my dad to come in. Once they were inside, Deb became a different person. She was startled because she wasn't expecting them, and then everything she was just saying went out of the window. She turned to Dan and my dad and said John had walked in and had just started yelling at her because of me. My dad looked at me and I shook my head no. Once Dan and Dad got in, everything calmed down for a little while. She went back to denying she didn't like me. They all told her that it was obvious that the dress request was shameful of her. She immediately replied that it's shameful that I won't let her son spend time with her. John said that's not true. At this point, I'm burning inside. I wanted to correct all of her inaccuracies, but I stood quiet. John asked her what's the real issue with OP. Deb starts saying she knew I would be an issue since we were in high school. She said that once John got with me, his grades started dropping and he stopped making time for family. He once didn't show up to celebrate Mother's Day with her a few times because of my birthday. My birthday is in April, and Mother's Day is in May. Once we got back together, he forgot about her completely, because I had made him abandon her. He goes to her house a minimum of 3 times a week. She said the fact that we had the engagement party without checking how she felt about it was wrong, and all the evidence she needed to see what kind of woman I am. My dad pointed out that she didn't pay for the engagement dinner to have any input. Dan asked her what she was thinking, asking if she would wear white at our wedding. Why is she so hungry for attention? Her face got red, and she went off. She told Dan that maybe if he had properly married her and given her a real wedding, she wouldn't have felt left out. Dan straight up called bullpoop and said that she didn't want to have a real wedding even though he tried to convince her. The reason is that her mother told her pregnant brides are tacky. She started crying. My dad got everyone to calm down. John finally spoke again and told his mom that he couldn't keep defending her when she wouldn't even try to respect me. He said that he's going to LC for his sanity and our relationship. Deb kept crying and said that John couldn't leave her for dead. She was the only mother he'll ever have. Mothers are forever. Wives are not. I'm not even his wife yet, and I'm already tearing apart the family. He kept going. He told her that we were going to get married. She can't respect me or stop crossing boundaries. She'll get cut off completely. His visits dropped to 1 every 2 weeks and she needs to call less. She started going off. She knew it. I'm doing something for him. What did I do to her son? I'm a manipulator and a problem. She told my dad he raised a demon. My dad shot back at her to watch her mouth. John kept shouting, "Mom, stop! Mom, stop!" But she kept screaming, and then she started hyperventilating. She was gripping John's arm, saying she couldn't breathe. This was when I said to myself, oh no, he's about to flip-flop. He looked at me, and I knew he knew what I was thinking. John got her a cup of water and then asked his dad if he could ensure his mom was okay. He asked my dad to take Dan home. Dan and Dad agreed, and his mom started crying louder. She screamed, "I can't breathe," as we walked out so he could hear her. I felt fucking terrible, and I finally spoke. I told John I'm sorry, and I understand if he felt bad. He said he knew she was faking it, but his instincts wanted to run over and make sure she was okay. I asked, "Are you?" He said no, but he looked really sad about it. My dad walked out behind us. My dad has never seen this side of Deb. Neither have I. She's always been catty or shady toward me, but this was insane. My dad straight up told John that his mom needed help with her mental health. John said he would talk to his aunt about getting her help. We went home, and John cried. He said he cried because he watched his mom villainize him and tell others that he just walked in and verbally abused her. He said it reminded him of the times he would fight with his dad because his mom would say Dan would just come from work and yell at her for no reason. I guess it was deja vu for him. He was silent after she said that, so I believe it struck a nerve. He decided to go NC for now. Before we went to Deb's house, I called a couple of counselors in our area to check availability, and our first couples therapy session is next month. It's a little while away. He called his provider today to check for a therapist within his insurance and got an appointment for himself for the 23rd. The ball is rolling, and John seems like he's on the same page as me. I know this is unaliving him, though. Dan called us and let us know he got Deb to calm down. He said he spoke to her as best as he could about her harming her own relationship with John, but she didn't want to hear it.